Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
What is going on, my friends? Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it's politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. We're diving deep, as always, and keeping it real, so please do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. Look, on today's conversation, I'm excited to welcome back to the show my good friend, Norfolk Commonwealth attorney Ramin Fatehi. He is, like I said, friend of the show. Last time he was on, it was, I want to say, it might have been primaries for him, but he has since won his election, and so much has happened since the last time we've spoken. So he's a part of a group called I'll just give the acronym FAFO. I'll let you think on that before we get going on. And again, we're just gonna have a great conversation. I always enjoyed having him on, and whenever if we're not on this program and just out in the field and out in the community, he's always just a great person to talk to and doing so much great stuff in the city of Norfolk. So you guys are gonna be in for a treat. As always, I try to deliver great conversations with you all. This is episode 602. That's right, my friends. As you know, we've exceeded 600 episodes, and we're continuing to give you more great conversation filled with great guests as well, and just keeping y'all up to speed on what's happening, not just on a local level, but just around this nation. So much stuff is happening, so much stuff, which makes my job easy because it's always something to talk about, right? Because every single minute something's happening out in Washington. Issues and craziness that happens in Washington, it affects us on a state level, and then it trickles down on a local level. So that's why we try to keep you guys up to speed on what's going on. And for those who kind of push away from politics, I know politics is not fun, it's not attractive, it's I guess it increases your blood pressure to a certain extent. Hey, it does with me with these gas prices, but at the end of the day, it's extremely important to kind of just stay informed, be aware. You have to understand that politics is everywhere, right? We can't run away from it. It's a part of everyday life. So those are going to be the conversations we're going to continue to give you here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Family, as always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule for tuning in to yet another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. As you know, we drop new episodes weeknights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. iHeart, Spotify, Apple, just to name a few. We're available on all major podcast platforms. And also shout out to our radio affiliates, WBOK 1230 AM out in New Orleans. You can listen into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then we're going to head over to Las Vegas. So on your way, to a sporting event or to a concert, or hey, to the casino, hoping to get lucky. Look, you need to turn your radio dial to KSHP 1400 AM or 107.1 FM to the Arrington Gavin Show. You can listen Friday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So again, shout out to our affiliates. And also you can listen, or not just listen, but you can watch our program on the GOATverse TV app. Okay, GOATverse TV app. You can check out past episodes of the show on the streaming platform GOATverse TV. It's available on the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, or Amazon Fire TV. So those are ways you can download that app. It's free. I don't know about y'all. I love a good deal. I love free 99, and so I'm always checking out stuff that is free. And lastly, if you have not done so, my friends, do me a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have not done so, we have a goal to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Share with a friend, share with family. We have amazing content, not just the shows that you're tuning into on a regular, but we also pop in from time to time shorts, some different clips. And then sometimes when an event or a story pops up and I'm like, wow, I want to say something. I want to share my thought on this. So yeah, we do some exclusive just off the cuff small clip episodes, just sharing my thoughts. Like, for example, I think our recent one was about what was it about? It was I asked you all the question on who should the president consider, what is his options for this Great American State Fair concert, right? Because so many folks have been, opting out now. He started off with 9 performers, and out of the 9, only 2 are left. Ugh, right? I mean, I was surprised when Bret Michaels opted out, because I'm like, wait, aren't Bret and President? Well, I want to say they're friends, but I remember when he was on Celebrity Apprentice, and I just figured they were cool. But hey, the only person that's left is I guess Vanilla Ice. Ice Baby. I mean, hey, who doesn't like Vanilla Ice, right? Everybody likes Vanilla Ice. Flow Rider, I think he's still in it. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think the president is happy about that. Well, in the words of Byron Donald, I don't think Dad is happy, or Daddy is happy, because he's like, you know what? They're not that great of performers anyway. All right, they're low grade 3, whatever. They're not that entertaining. I'll do a rally. I'm more entertaining than them, and yada yada yada. I'm like, okay, Martina McBride is not a popular artist. Okay, you're on your own on that one, buddy. But yes, we got a lot to discuss on today's show. Before we head to a commercial break, guys, I just want to I gotta vent a little bit. So, as you know, my Knicks, you can see the cup. I got it sporting in the background there. My Knicks are in the NBA Finals. By the time you tune into this episode, it'll probably be game 3, possibly. So hopefully we take on, we win game 2. I know we won game 1, and it was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. See, being a diehard Knicks fan, it's like I love it, but I also hate it at the same time, because I don't know about you guys, my blood pressure just goes up every time I watch the Knicks. Is it you? Is it just me? Like, every time I see them miss a shot or make a bad play, I'm like, oh my gosh. And my wife looks at me like, keep it down. I'm like, sorry. It'll be late at night, and I'm just so panicky. But hey, we pulled off game 1 in San Antonio, right? Which was, again, San Antonio is a great team. Let's just be, clear here. A Wemby, 7'5", athletic as hell. I mean, I was like, oh, are we going to pull this off? And we did. So again, fingers crossed on the Knicks. But the reason why I wanted to vent is because a Knicks great is still banned from Madison Square Garden. I'm talking about Charles Oakley. Now, we remember a while back, I'm blanking on which what season or how many years. I feel like it was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. Charles Oakley, Knicks great, was escorted by security from the Garden. And I'm like, what is going on here? And him and James Dolan, the owner of the New York Knicks, had some tension. And he banned him from the Garden. And it's like, it was a shame, because the fans want to see Charles Oakley. He is a part of the historic, just the rich history of the New York Knicks. And especially since, the Knicks, the last time we was in the finals was 27 years ago. 27 years ago was the last time we actually made it to the finals. Okay. We've had we have struggled, y'all. We have struggled, but the past few years we've been rebuilding, and now we finally have a great team, a great coach who deserves this win, Mike Brown. And so I just wanted to vent. I hope James Dolan or someone that's tuning into this show can get in touch with ownership in New York and just say, please take, end the ban and bring back Charles Oakley. He deserves to have a front row seat to watch the greatest team in the NBA hopefully pull off this NBA finals win. I mean, he's had references from Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, Michael Jordan. I mean, do we need to get God to give a letter of recommendation? I mean, who else do we need? So I went to vent on that. Also, before we go to a commercial break, Florida Representative Ana Luna, I always get her name mixed up. Hold on, let me get this straight here, because I posted this on our social media. Ana Paulina Luna. There we go. Ana Paulina Luna. So she accused an activist who was, like most folks do, just trying to have a conversation with the representative. She was extremely frustrated with the stance that she took, and was talking with her. And look, you can see the clip clear as day. While they're talking, the lady's hand might have extremely gently, like lighter than a fly hitting you. And the congresswoman is like, oh my gosh, I've been slapped, I've been assaulted. I'm just like, oh my goodness. So I guess I want to vent because I'm like, ma'am, assault really out of all the political violence we've witnessed just within this year, and you're saying this person assaulted you, I think you're pushing it just slightly. But yeah, that's enough with me venting, y'all. That's enough with me venting. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna head to a commercial break. And then when we come back, I'll be honored to welcome back to the show my good friend, Norfolk Commonwealth attorney Ramin Fatehi. And we just gonna have a great conversation. We're gonna have some fun today here on the Arrington Gavin Show, as we always do, my friends. Don't go anywhere. Don't change that dial. You're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show. We'll be back after these commercial breaks.
Every man has a story to tell. Your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy. Your suit should reflect that story, crafted precisely, designed for impact, and tailored exclusively for you. We work with only the finest fabrics, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blends from world-renowned mills in Italy, the UK, and India. These fabrics are the foundation of custom suits that exude elegance and stand the test of time. But a suit isn't just about fabric, it's about fit, and it's about confidence, and it all starts with you. When you work with me, you'll receive a personalized consultation, whether in person or over Zoom. Together, we'll explore your vision and discuss your needs. And we're gonna bring your ideas to life. My journey as a designer includes apprenticing under New York-based designer Clavon Leonard, showcasing collections at New York Fashion Week, Algeria Fashion Week, and the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. That experience is what we bring to every suit we create, from weddings to corporate events and everything in between. We specialize in crafting one-of-a-kind suits for life's most significant moments. Dapper Luke has been recognized as one of Baltimore's best menswear in 2023, and I was honored to be one of the 10 designers selected for the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. With over 900 satisfied clients, we proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore, bringing world-class designs to these incredible communities. We don't just make suits, we craft confidence. Your suit will fit your body, your style, and it will tell your story. Book your free online personal consultation today. Visit www.dapperluke.com.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up.
With me?
Yeah, that's that new Gold Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of that he said?
Introducing GoatVerse TV.
GoatVerse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In GOATs, we trust.
6'10", number one pick, 16 seasons, college player of the year, all-rookie standout. Joe Smith built a career on grit, consistency, and showing up.
Greatness isn't just about the game. It's about how you show up every day. Rugged Evolution now offers body care products for every man, because not every man wears a beard, but every man deserves care. Greatness doesn't fade.
It evolved. Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Every beard deserves to be legendary, and every man deserves care. All right, my friends, welcome back to the show. So, as I mentioned, I'm honored to have on a special guest on for you all. But before, just want to kind of give y'all a quick go around on this. So, we're taking a deep dive into some of the biggest issues shaping our nation, our Commonwealth, and our local communities, from the ongoing battle over crime and public safety to immigration, gun policy, criminal justice reform, voting rights, and the growing divide in American politics. There's no shortage of important conversations happening right now. Joining us tonight, as I mentioned, Norfolk Commonwealth attorney Ramin Fatehi. Whether you agree with him, disagree with him, or fall somewhere in between, there's no denying he's been at the center of some of the most talked about legal and political debates in Virginia. So again, I'm excited to bring on my good friend back to the show, Norfolk Commonwealth attorney Ramin Fatehi. Ramin, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing great, Arrington. Thank you for having me back. It's great to see you.
Hey, look, I appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule. Look, last time you were on, it was re-election season. You were in the primary season for you. It was a definitely a very busy, very competitive race that you had end up succeeding. The folks of Norfolk said no. We're voting and we're choosing Ramin. We're hiring Ramin back, because I always let our listeners know, hey, our elected officials here work for the people. So they said no. Ramin is continuing doing a great job, and we want to keep him as our Norfolk Commonwealth attorney, man. Since the last time we spoken, man, what has give us some quick insight, man. How's everything been going with the your second term, and has some of those initiatives that you spoken the last time we spoke, how's the progress of those?
Things are going really well here in Norfolk, and we've had a good year since I saw you last. I'm really grateful to the citizens of Norfolk for rehiring me. You're right. That's what elections are. It's a chance for an elected official, whether it's me as a prosecutor or a legislator or a governor or a senator, to say, this is what I've done. Here are the promises I made, and have I kept them? And the race here last year wound up being the most expensive Commonwealth's attorney election in the history of Virginia. And it is the privilege of my life to continue to serve. Like I said, things are good. Last year, we saw the lowest number of homicides in Norfolk since probably 1960.
Wow.
We've seen a drop of something like 60% in homicides from our COVID high, which coincided with the last year of my predecessor's term and the first year of my term. And we've seen similar drops in most other kinds of crime. That doesn't mean that there's no crime, but we are in a good place compared to where we were 10 years ago, even. And with 26 homicides last year, our high was somewhere around 92 homicides in 1991. So we are seeing historic drops that I will say, I've said many times, including on your show, I'm not responsible for. I can't claim credit for them, and that are right now consistent with what we're seeing nationally. The Norfolk Police Department is doing some really good, really innovative work that I think has contributed to some of those numbers, but the bulk of it is national numbers dropping. We went up with them, and we're coming down with them too.
Gotcha. If you don't mind, Ramin, you mentioned the reduction on violent crime and homicides. If you don't mind sharing, what policies or specific policies, if you don't mind, contributed to most of those improvements?
Nothing in my office. And I'll be very honest, nothing in my office. We can make a massive difference. My prosecutors and I can make a massive difference in the lives of individual victims and their families, individual defendants, but I don't control the overall murder numbers any more than the fireman controls how many fires break out, or the weatherman controls whether the thunderstorm comes or doesn't come. The big thing that I always take pride in as far as my policies is that my policies have increased fairness in the system. I treat children like children. I don't hammer people with mandatory minimums. I don't make people felons who don't need to be. And everybody said that those policies were going to make Norfolk a dangerous place and we're going to blow up the crime rate. I did them. I did them in the middle of the COVID crime spike when everybody told me to walk my promises back. And I didn't. I stuck by my promises, and crime went like this. So what I always say is I didn't make the crime do this, but I didn't make it do this either, which is what everybody else said it would happen. They said that if I did criminal justice reform and if I was a progressive prosecutor, I'd run up the crime rate. Now, I mentioned smart policing from the police department. That is a contributing factor. It's not the factor. It wasn't like the Norfolk police forgot how to police in 2021 and 2022 when we had 60-some homicides. They didn't just forget how to be cops. Those were national spikes. We wrote them up and we wrote them down. But I can tell you that having worked with the Norfolk Police Department very closely over the last 4 years, especially with our chief, Mark Talbot, they are being very smart on crime. I've done some operational things where I can see it. I go to all the murder scenes myself. My lawyers go with me. we are in the police department's weekly strategy meetings where they talk about who the bad actors are. We take that information so that we can target those bad actors when they get arrested. And by knowing who the bad actors are, that lets me give breaks to the vast number of people who can't get out of their own way, have made a mistake, but don't deserve to be disappeared into the prison system. I can say the other thing that the police have done is use technology in a smart way. Whether it's license plate reader cameras, which have been fantastic, not just in making arrests, but in reducing the footprint of the police department. It's a civil rights tool because it stops the police from messing with people who don't need to be messed with. So if you don't like stop and frisk, license plate readers are your answer. And other responsible uses of technology that have allowed the police to make prompt arrests in violent crime and actually in even not so violent crime cases.
One thing I shared this with one of my good friends, who actually is a mutual friend of ours. I was telling her how I've always admired how you speak a lot on prisons shouldn't always be just a place you send a criminal to. It should also be a place of like rehabilitation for some, because by the time they do their time and they're out in the public, okay, we have to get them prepared. I think that's very important, because a lot of folks ignore just because they're like, hey, look, crime, they deserve to do this and that, and then they kind of ignore and like they're overlooked. They just, again, they put that stigma on. You did a crime, you got to do the time, you're a criminal. But I appreciate that you always that you speak a lot on the helping those that by the time they do their crime, hey, look, it's time to help them out once they're out of their finish their sentence. Excuse me.
Absolutely. We have 30-some thousand people in the Virginia prison system, not counting the local jails, just prison. And out of them, only 8% are serving life, only 4.5% life without parole. Even if you add up the people who got like 100 years to serve or whatever, it's really only 17% of the inmates. That means 83% of people in Virginia's prisons are coming home. We have to be ready for them. We have to give them the tools to do better. We have to give them support when they're released. We're spending $60,000 a year per inmate in the DOC. $60,000 per inmate. We should try to be smart about the money that we're spending to help them when they come out. But that $60,000, you can't get that back. And that's why I am very, very judicious about the sentences that my prosecutors are allowed to ask for. They have to clear big sentences with me. Because if I'm going to be spending $60,000 a year that we could spend giving people health care, feeding hungry children at school, repairing our roads and bridges, helping with economic development, like we better have a pretty good reason other than like, well, it will make me look tough when I come up for re-election. Like it's got to be, if we're going to spend $60,000 a year, we better be getting $60,000 worth of benefit out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, hello, of course, who doesn't want, if you're investing a lot of money in it, obviously everybody will love to see a return investment on that. Ramin, your office also helped establish what has been described as Virginia's first witness protection program. Why was that needed, and what impact has it had on solving some of the violent crimes in the city of Norfolk?
For every 100 murders that are committed in America, Arrington, only 60 people are ever arrested. That's not a Norfolk number. That is an America number.
Wow.
60%.
Wow.
That's not how many are convicted. That's just how many there's probable cause, which is not enough to convict anybody. And part of the reason that 40% of murderers just walk around on the street is not because they're criminal masterminds. It's because people don't trust the system. They think that the system treats poor people and Black people and women and people who don't have connections differently than it treats privileged people. And they've been over-policed. They've been stopped and frisked. They've just not seen justice in their day-to-day lives. And a lot of the work that I do as a progressive prosecutor is designed to try and build trust in the justice system. To say, you are right. Like, you were not wrong. It wasn't your imagination. Like, a lot of prosecutors just like go through life denying. They're like, oh no, justice isn't blind. It's always been fair. Like, and everybody knows it's a bunch of bunk. That's just not true. And the test is, are we doing better? And the witness protection work that I've done goes hand in hand with my transparency about not sending kids to adult prison, right-sizing our sentences, recognizing that making people felons is serious business, caring about everybody who moves through the courthouse. Yes, the victims, but the defendant, the families of both the victim and the defendant, the police, caring about everybody. Witness protection is a big part of that. In the olden days, that if a witness felt like they were in danger in Norfolk or in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, wherever, the answer was, well, we can send the police by your house a couple more times, or it wasn't things that they weren't going to help 24 hours a day. And that's why I'd like to say I established it, but it was really Bobby Scott and Don Scott, Congressman Scott, and Speaker of the House Scott, who established these programs. I went to them and I advocated for witness protection funding. And Don Scott put money in the Virginia budget, and Bobby Scott put money in the federal budget to establish witness protection programs here in Virginia. That was huge. It was the first time ever. And we have those programs available, including now things like we can put people up in a hotel temporarily. We may be able to help with moving expenses. The state police now have a system where if you are genuinely in danger, it's not just your imagination. They can put a security system on your house, and they'll have the state police monitor it 24 hours a day. So if something breaks bad, you don't even have to call. They're already on it. And the benefit is, a lot more witnesses are afraid of being intimidated than are actually intimidated. For us to be able to say, if somebody, it used to be, they said, well, what happens? Like, I feel as if I'm going to be intimidated. And we'd say, look, that's just not that likely. Like, if you were going to get intimidated, and they're not just going to shoot up your house. They're going to show up and be like, hey, wouldn't you rather not come to court? And then they'd maybe try to pay you, and then they'd shoot up your house. Like, you would know. But people are like, yeah, that's all great. But what if I'm the one out of 100 who they just come and shoot me? And I'd be like, well, I mean, what do you got to offer? I'd be like, well, I really don't have anything. They'll be like, thanks, goodbye, and hang up the telephone. We never see them. Now we can have the conversation. We have programs, we have resources. You're unlikely to be intimidated. You're unlikely to be in actual danger. But if you are, we have a program. And that has value. And even today, one of my lawyers was out buying security cameras so that we can pass them out if people could show us that they were crime victims or witnesses and they were concerned about their safety.
Awesome. I want to kind of transition, and you're familiar with the show. A lot of my listeners and viewers, they know that I'm not the biggest fan of this administration in Washington. A lot of the issues that they have caused has affected voters, obviously on the federal level, state level, local level. A recent article from WTKR that I read a while back was reading that you, alongside Portsmouth Commonwealth Attorney Stephanie Morales, joined FAFO prosecutors aiming at ICE lawbreakers. If you don't mind, for our listeners who's not familiar with FAFO, which I love that term or that acronym, it actually stands for Federation Against Federal Overreach. Am I correct there? Is that?
Yeah, I actually got it wrong in the story myself. Then it's the Project for the Fight Against Federal Overreach.
There you go.
Federal Overreach. FAFO. I don't know why everybody chuckles when we say FAFO. It's a big mystery. We don't get it.
Well, you know what? It was used a lot during the campaign season during the presidential campaign for folks that said, hey, look, they stood by and supported Trump, and then it's like when crap hits the fan, in a sense, it's like, okay, you got to find out, in a sense. So that FAFO, it was like that was used a lot. that was used. We're gonna
know.
say.
I was joking, but I wasn't joking. We know what everybody thinks of. When
Let me tell you something. I'm like,
FAFO.
look, oh, Ramin knows this. I'm like, this was look, it was hilarious when I first read it, but I thought it was very important. If you don't mind, what exactly is this coalition and why did you decide to join it?
All credit to Larry Krasner, who's the DA in Philadelphia. He's the big daddy of all of us progressive prosecutors. He's the one with the biggest office, frankly, the biggest ideas. He's probably the best communicator out of all of us. He is really smart. The research and data and the leadership that he's shown, I really admire the guy, and I think he does a great work. And Larry called me, and he called a number of other close friends of his, professional friends, and said, look, this was right after the ICE, jackbooting all over Minneapolis, where ICE gunned down 2 people, including somebody who went to school in Norfolk. And was one of my wife's college students. And we just didn't know who was going to be next. But all of us knew that the way Trump operates is that if he senses weakness, he exploits it. The minute that he meets resistance, then all of a sudden he backs down. And what we did is we came together. It was 9 of us. We've added a few prosecutors since then, including Stephanie and me, and basically said, look, we're putting ICE and the federal government on notice that federal officers are officers, just like local officers are officers, but they're people. And that means that if they commit a crime, they don't have a license to kill. They're not James Bond. You can't just kill people. And if you were going to commit a crime in our jurisdictions, just like we would indict a local cop who commits a murder, we would do the same for a federal agent. And we came together and we thought that by joining forces, by making a public announcement, we would reassure other prosecutors around the country. We would reassure a very nervous American public that while a lot of other institutions in American life are folding in the face of the Trump administration, we were going to fold. We were going to be ready. And we shared resources, we shared ideas. It's extremely legally difficult to prosecute federal agents in state court. And that's all from the civil rights era. Like, nobody wanted Bull Connor arresting an FBI agent in Birmingham, Alabama, and throwing him in front of some kangaroo court, which means that basically all of the civil rights protections that we relied on, a federal government invested in civil rights, state governments violating people's civil rights, it's all been turned upside down on its head. We've talked about the legal strategies, how we will be able to fight off immunity claims, what we would need to do. But apart from what we're seeing coming out of Minneapolis, because Minneapolis, Mary Moriarty, my counterpart there, has already indicted multiple ICE agents for various crimes and is continuing very active investigations. Mary is putting this work into practice, but the rest of us have all said, we're going to be ready. We're not going to get caught flat-footed if somebody comes in and starts harming our citizens.
Ramin, I want to ask how many, if you know by number, how many attorneys, Commonwealth attorneys, state district attorneys are, or excuse me, is it, because I know not every state has a Commonwealth attorney, but how many attorneys are involved in this coalition? Is this kind of like one for each state? Is it just a small handful of states as of right now?
Right now, I think we have either 11 or 12. I'm just doing the math in my head because we've added to we've added 2 or 3 people, and that's not a ton. There are roughly 2,300 local prosecutors, state and local prosecutors in the United States, elected state and local prosecutors. So when we're talking about 11, that's not a whole lot. We tend to be from bigger jurisdictions, so there is that. But our representatives are in Illinois, Texas, Virginia. There are 4 of us from Virginia, 5 now that I'm doing the math, and Philadelphia, Minneapolis, Tucson, Arizona. So we're all over the country, but this is a coalition of like-minded, reform-oriented prosecutors who recognize that this is a public safety issue. And it goes back to that community trust piece too, Arrington. This is about safety of our citizens so they don't get abused and hurt and killed by the feds. But it's also part of the Trump administration's assault on equality under the law. I was talking about how prosecutors have traditionally denied that, like, if you're rich or who your daddy is or who you know, or if you happen to be a white nationalist who ran up on the Capitol building, like maybe you get a different kind of brand of justice.
Or at the ocean front. Sorry to interrupt you there, but or at the ocean front, because I know that was a group of guys out there. Crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, but bottom line is, like, what Trump is doing at the federal level in corrupting the justice system and using it to punish his enemies and like pardon his friends, that has real effects on our juries. Like, how are we supposed to say to a jury, like, this is serious, you got to take this, shoplifting or this felon in possession of a firearm, this is serious business, like, we got to hold people accountable. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, like, okay, you got this $2,000 embezzlement, like, this guy who just committed like $100 million wire fraud donated to Trump's campaign and you just got pardoned. Like, you really want me to like convict this guy in this local, like, it's very difficult. And we can't just let everybody go. It's anarchy. Like, we have to hold people accountable. Like, we have to get convictions on cases. But when we look like we're either clueless or we're lying to the jury about equal justice under the law, it's, Trump's actions and the actions of the Trump administration have a direct bearing on public safety and a direct bearing on people's faith in the justice system.
No, I totally agree with that, because not too long ago, which I know it's been paused because it caused a lot of backlash, but this so-called anti-weaponization fund, I said on my show, it basically what I see is that you can break the law in the name of Trump. You're going to be rewarded. You're going to be given money, taxpayer money. You're going to be praised, the whole 9 yards. You got to get book deals. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it sickens me, because even though, as I mentioned, the anti-weaponization fund has been on pause, right, still doesn't take away the fact that the idea, it shouldn't have went that far to begin with. And it's the fact that folks are still defending, saying, well, no, it would have been important. Like, no. Wait a minute. I mean, and I could just speak from the, as a black man, in the culture, the justice system was already kind of, iffy, right? I hear a lot of that in our communities, like, I don't know, I don't trust the justice system, this and the other. But you said the word earlier, that transparency, that trust between community and the justice system. I mean, it's extremely important that folks will earn more trust into the courts and into the justice system. I want to ask you, Ramin, what would you say to those who hear about this group, who hear about this coalition, and immediately assume it's politically motivated?
I'd say, first of all, like, anybody who thinks that a prosecutor's job isn't political forgets that we are elected officials. If I make a promise not to send kids to adult prison, that's a political promise. Like, if I'm getting people to vote for me or to vote against me based on that, those are campaign promises, first of all. Second, I'm carrying out my campaign promise, which is to say that nobody is above the law. That's true if you're a member of X or Y gang, or if you're the police. Third, we didn't start this fight. Trump did. We wouldn't have to be having this if ICE were just doing its job. And fourth, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is not about my personal distaste for Trump's immigration policies. Like, Trump can hire 1 trillion ICE agents because Congress, in one of its rare efforts to actually do something, did something bad and gave him permission to do it. Right? It's not about whether ICE can break up families or rush into the local bodega and arrest everybody. They can do all of that. I don't like it, but when people say elections have consequences, this is what they're talking about. But we're not getting in the way of ICE doing its job if it's obeying its own laws. We only get into the picture if ICE agents commit a Virginia crime. That's where I get involved. or a crime under the state laws of any of the states where my colleagues and I have our authority. So it's not about, it's political in the sense that we're showing that Trump doesn't own the entire government. There are independent-minded people who are going to push back, but it's really at core a reassertion of our responsibility for public safety.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that the criminologists have shown will increase the crime rate in a locality, independent of the way things move nationally, is a high-profile incidence of police brutality. That will cause a fresh eruption of distrust in the justice system that will cause people not to pick up the phone, or that will cause the debates about what it is are very contested. Some people say, well, then the police pull back because they're for whatever reason. Other people say it's because people get more aggressive because they're more upset. One way or the other, like, if I don't want a high profile incidence of police violence to happen in my city because it has the distinct possibility of increasing the crime rates, and I don't want that.
You actually kind of answered my question, and it might relate to a and I'm gonna try to remember this because I didn't write this in my notes, but Governor Spanberger, I think one of the first initiative that she signed on was that she was not gonna, like, local law enforcement would not have to cooperate with ICE agents. I think I'm kind of around that ballpark. I'm trying to remember because it was literally like the day of inauguration. I think that's how it went. A lot of some voters were well, I wouldn't say some. Obviously, those that didn't vote for her was not a fan of that. Those who were in favor of that was like, okay, she did a great job. I guess my question I wanted to ask you, if an ICE agent, say, is carrying out a federal warrant but is accused of violating state law, who should have the final authority, the state or federal government?
If they're doing anything other than committing a crime, the feds win.
Okay.
Right? You can violate a state law without committing a crime.
Mm-hmm.
If they're committing a crime, that's where we start getting into the picture.
Gotcha.
Then just because somebody has a federal gun or a federal badge doesn't give them immunity from committing state crimes.
I got you.
What Governor Spanberger did was important, but there was both more to it and less to it than meets the eye.
Okay.
Local law enforcement is required by law to comply with ICE when ICE is following the United States Code. When there are things that are in U.S. federal law, everybody has to follow them, including me. And I don't deal with ICE. I don't deal with detainers. That's not what Virginia prosecutors do. It's outside of our authority. But the police can't refuse to honor an ICE detainer. They can't. Jails can't refuse to honor them. But what those so-called 287G orders that Governor Spanberger revoked, and rightly so, those allow local officials basically to say, hey, we are now deputizing ourselves and we're going to be ICE. And we're going to do all this other stuff that we're not required by law to do, but that we want to do, quote unquote, want to do. And, Governor Youngkin encouraged that. He wanted everybody to enter into these so-called, 287G agreements. And Governor Spanberger said, for any state agency, we're not going to do that. We're going to comply with federal law. Don't forget, Governor Spanberger was a federal police officer herself. She worked for the United States Postal Service as an inspector. So we're not going to violate federal law. We can't. We fought the Civil War on that question and lost, and rightly so at the time. but we can't. What that agreement says is not we're not going to cooperate with ICE. We have to cooperate with them if they are obeying the law. But what it does say is we're not going to go out of their way to carry their water and be Robin to their Batman or whatever. We're just not going to. We're not going to let local sheriffs or local police departments or local jails decide that they're all in on the Trump train and they're going to do whatever Trump wants, even if they don't have to by law.
No, I appreciate you answering that for me because, again, as a voter, as someone that's not familiar, like most, I'll just say most residents are not fully familiar with how the law works and exactly what does this policy truly mean. What does this initiative mean? So I appreciate you explaining that to our listeners, because that's what I enjoy doing about this show. When I bring on experts like yourself, it's like, okay, we bring the professionals in, they can explain it, and then okay, now folks will have a better understanding before than just reading a headline and think they can just take that to the bank. I want to talk to Ramin about Norfolk. The city of Norfolk had recently experienced a sad tragedy at a local university, Old Dominion University. There was a terrible incident where a gunman came on campus and took the life of a teacher, a ROTC instructor who had been there for some time. And I can remember it like if it was yesterday, because my wife works at Old Dominion, and I remember receiving my wife and my nephew's a student, actually. He's an upperclassman at Old Dominion. And so I remember receiving a text way before it was on our local news that, hey, look, it's we're under lockdown. Just keep, she was keeping me, engaged the whole time. And, there's been, I'll just say, minor incident, no incident compared to this, but there's been incidents where, something will go down. Okay, we have to, do a lockdown. I'm like, well, she's okay. She's good. And then when I started to see more, I'm like, oh my God. So I was a little panicky, but my wife and her staff and everybody was in, good hands and safe. But fast forward to that, what lives were lost, and it definitely put a dent in the university that period, because you had a lot of upperclassmen. I knew one of the students who recently graduated, was part of the ROTC, who was actually in the class when that when that incident happened. And Ramin, you spoke publicly. You said that gun violence is a national sickness, right? Is a national sickness. You called out gun lawmakers, right? You mentioned, and I personally, I didn't disagree at all. I feel as though, I was just talking to a friend of mine not too long ago. I feel as though the U.S. we're very gun happy. It's a gun culture out here. Sometimes guns are more popular than any other thing, right? You see how much money is in the NRA. You see these big gun conventions, and I mean, hell, I have friends that have multiple, and they're always talking about guns. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for those who are watching. You already see, Ramin's face. For those who are listening, Ramin's making that face like, give me a break. But I'm all for, protect your household. That's one thing. But I will say it does kind of worry me when I just see someone open carry. If I'm at the grocery store, if I'm at a local pharmacy, if I'm at the Dollar Tree and I'm seeing somebody carrying there, I'm like, okay, especially if they're not in law enforcement. I'm like, I'm just curious. I'm like, why is the mafia after you or something? Like, what? Why is it? So if you don't mind kind of expanding when you had, mentioned that at the press conference, because it went viral. Of course, the conservative outlets called you out. I know Fox News had a nice headline. I'm like, hey, I know that guy. What if you don't mind expanding more when you made that statement during that press conference?
Yeah, I Arrington, that the ODU shooting was awful. Lieutenant Colonel Shaw is a hero. He died a hero.
Absolutely.
Those ROTC students, they acted heroically. There was no excuse for what the gunman did. Absolutely not. And my wife teaches at ODU. She's in the English department. She got locked down a couple of buildings over. I mean, I live in Colonial Place. I'm right around the corner from ODU. I was there with the Norfolk chief and the ODU police chief, and every federal agency showed up. Everybody showed up. Like, I was there. Like, I walked through that classroom like I walked through every murder scene in Norfolk. I saw it. And actually, I hadn't intended to talk at that press conference. The reason that I did is we got a well-meaning question, like a completely well-meaning question from a reporter in the audience. And it was basically like, hey, ODU, like, what, why didn't you do something to prevent this? And, how can people feel safe at ODU? And I know the ODU police chief. I've known him and his wife. Well, him and his wife at the time were friends of mine 20 years ago. Not personal, but professional. So I've known him. He's a good chief. I know the Norfolk police chief well. He's a good chief. And I thought it was a deeply unfair question. Like I said, I think it was well-meaning, but it was totally unfair because it's like blaming the firemen for the fire again.
Yeah.
And that's why I stepped in and I said, like, look, we're blaming the wrong stuff here. And I knew that I'd have more freedom of movement, more ability to say the important stuff out loud as an elected official than they would as police officers and police chiefs. And look, I stand by it. You're right. I got a couple hundred pieces of hate mail, like profane voicemails, like people telling me that I'm like dumb as hell and I need to resign and like this. I knew it was coming. I knew what I was saying. I knew I was going to draw fire, but I did it on purpose. And we've had 3 very bad shootings at our universities. We had Virginia Tech. We had UVA a couple of years ago, and now we've had ODU. And the motivations for each of those shootings, the method and means, they were all different, but they have one thing in common, and it is the guns. 400 million guns in circulation in the United States for 330 million people. Something like half of all American households are armed with guns. You offer somebody the tools, like at a certain point, the tools are going to fall into the wrong hands. And we just have to acknowledge that we don't need 400 million guns in America. And now I obey the Constitution, even the parts I don't like. Like I comply with the law. That's why I call on the lawmakers to do what they can do. But we got to call it out. Like the first step to solving a problem is acknowledging you have a problem. Yeah. And if that terrorist had come into that room with a knife, I think that he would have been determined to kill somebody, but I think that everything would have gone a different way. And P.S. The cadets who subdued him and ultimately killed him, they didn't have a gun.
They did not. They did not. And when I heard that, I said, I just want to let you know, they're passing with flying colors. I'm just saying that tells you a great instructor right there that taught them how to. I mean, it was a heroic from the students there. Ramin, I want to respond with just to play a little devil's advocate. What do you say to the person person who is the gun owner to the core, NRA head, the whole 9 yards, Second Amendment? How do you respond when they always say, well, it's not the gun, it's the person in control of the gun. It's a gun saves lives. Because I see that that's the response always. Gun save lives. It's the person. It's not the guns. How do you respond with that?
I mean, the Second Amendment's the Second Amendment. Like, we're going to have guns in our lives no matter what. The question is, are we going to have people knowing how to use them and using responsibly, like we do with cars, or pretty much anything else in American life, or are we just going to have a big old free-for-all? Like, do we want to have sensible regulations in place that will keep guns out of the hands of the wrong people? Bearing in mind, remember how the shooter at ODU got his gun. It was a law-abiding gun owner who left his gun in his car and got his gun stolen out of his car and then sold on the black market. So the elections have consequences. Guess what? Sure, our General Assembly has passed a law that requires the safe storage of guns in cars. Right? That's not abridging your Second Amendment right. That's just asking you not to be stupid. And
it's such a common sense thing. Like I don't even like leaving my wallet in my car wide open. I mean, get alone a weapon.
Yeah, education courses like these don't abridge your 2A rights, and they're right that the guns are the instrumentality. But when you can buy, like that guy did, you can buy a stolen gun for $100 on the street. If that gun had been $1,000 on the street because the guns weren't as plentiful, I don't know that he would have been able to buy it. We don't know. And we acknowledge reasonable restrictions. We read reasonable restrictions. Like, I know the text of the Second Amendment, but there is an absolutism in the way that people look at gun rights that is not consistent with our constitutional history and is not consistent with the original intent of the framers. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I mean, my own, opinion with it is personally, I think folks, gun owners immediately get so offended when you do ask, because they're like, it's my right. It's my right. I mean, I've asked the question, why so many? And they always say, well, it's my right. I'm like, I didn't ask you if it's your right or not. I just asked why so many. It's simple things. Everybody gets so offended. And it's like, I get it. When you have that, that firearm, I guess it puts you in a power position that it's like, oh, I have the power, this and that and the other. But I also, again, I feel as though that we've lived in a gun, just the U.S. alone, right? Action films generate the most money. And who doesn't want to be like the Rambo? Who doesn't want to be like the Terminator? Video games, right? Call of Duty is one of the highest gross of it. I just personally just think like it's just guns generate a lot of funds, and then it's sad that you have an administration, yet alone most folks on the right, they're promoting NRA. NRA helps fund a lot of conservative and Republican leaning elected officials and functions out there. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's I feel like it's comical when it's election season, and I'm like, okay, how many conservative candidates are going to have a weapon in their photo or AR-15 or something like that? Like, it's just, it's silly. It really is silly. But that's just my opinion there. Ramin, I know we're coming to a close on our conversation, man. As always, I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, because look, being a Commonwealth attorney for the city of Norfolk doesn't come easy. I know you're extremely busy, but again, I truly appreciate you taking the time out your schedule, and appreciate the friendship too. I truly do. I can always shoot you a text and I get a response quickly. I appreciate that. If there's anything I forget, man, how can some of your the residents residents and voters in Norfolk, do you keep do they keep in touch with you as far as with your office or things going on in the city? How can they stay in touch?
Best way to do that is to Google Norfolk prosecutor or Norfolk Commonwealth's attorney, or my name. If you can spell it, good luck. And we have an email service. We put out 200 and some press releases last year with results in our criminal cases. Everything from, murderers going to prison to people completing drug court and having their charges dismissed. And it allows me to hold myself accountable to my neighbors, who are also the people who hired me, to see what am I doing in your name in the justice system. You can go to my website, you can look at my policies there, they're in writing, and you can follow us on social media, Norfolk, Office of the Norfolk Commonwealth Attorney, or for me, just Fatehi Norfolk. And I encourage anybody to do that, and my cell phone's on my website. Anybody who ever wants to call, you can just give me a call.
Hey, now you see why I always enjoy, why I like this guy. I mean, transparency to the core, keeping in touch with the residents, and again, like I said, doing great stuff in the city of Norfolk. Ramin, I appreciate you, my friend. Hopefully we'll run into each other pretty soon. It's midterm season, it's election season out here in the Hampton Roads area, so I know we'll cross paths very soon, my friend. If you don't mind, I would love to chop it up with you just for a couple seconds after this show. But again, I truly appreciate you.
Hey, right back at you, Arrington. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My friends, I hope you enjoyed yet another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. I hope you learned something as well. Yeah, as always, look, take care, stay safe. It's midterm season, and please get out there and vote. Make sure you learn up on these candidates, though. Don't just go freely because they have a certain letter in front of their name. Actually do the research, read on their issues that they're campaigning on. Big elections happen. I'm honored to have some conversations lined up for you with candidates, congressional candidates, not just here in the state of Virginia, but also states across this nation. It's midterm season. It's going to be big. It's going to be major. Look, until next time, my friends, y'all take care. God bless, and I will talk to you soon. Peace and blessings.
That's it for tonight on the Arrington Gavin Show. Thanks for tapping in and keeping the conversation alive. Don't forget, stay connected with us on all platforms. Follow at Arrington Gavin on Instagram, Blue Sky, and X, and subscribe to the official Substack for exclusive takes and deep dives you won't get anywhere else. We're here every weeknight, same time, same energy, same real talk. Until next time, stay bold, stay sharp, and stay true. That's what we do on the Arrington Gavin Show. Peace.